Hi everyone, my name is Trinity Haas, and today I will be talking about gender inequalities in the United States workforce. I want to talk about how things started, where we're at today, and what changes we still need to see. Within this presentation, the topics I'm going to cover are some key facts and statistics about the wage gap, a quick historical overview, the present day challenges that women still face at work, and how race and class factor in as well. Finally, we'll go over some ideas for creating change. Let's start with the basics. Women in the United States still earn about 82% of what men earn. There's also something called the motherhood penalty, meaning that moms are often judged more harshly and paid less. And occupational segregation, which are jobs that are seen as predominantly women or predominantly men, still exists today. In addition to that, we were introduced to a concept called the glass ceiling. The glass ceiling is an invisible barrier that prevents certain groups of people, especially women and minorities, from advancing to higher level positions in their careers, no matter how qualified they may be. Over on the right-hand side, I incorporated an image that came from our textbook, and it gives some really great examples of both women-dominated occupations as well as men-dominated occupations. This is another image that I selected from the textbook, and it shows just how much women's earnings can vary depending on things like race, education, and occupation. It really goes to show that not all women are affected in the same way. Historically, gender roles position men as the breadwinners and women as the homemakers. Women had limited access to education and career training, so they often got stuck in low wage jobs. Even when women stepped into the workforce during the wars, they were pushed back into lower paying roles after. I thought it was really interesting that the textbook talked about how airlines like Southwest, they actually hired their stewardesses based on their looks and dressed them in overly sexualized outfits back in the 60s and 70s, and this was done to attract male customers. That's a perfect example of how women were treated more like objects than professionals, and you can see that image depicted over here on the right-hand side. So let's fast forward to today. Women still earn less across most industries. Leadership roles are still mostly held by men. And our culture of overwork, which contains long hours and constant availability, tends to reward men more than it does women, according to Cha and Whedon. Plus, mothers are still penalized for having families in many different ways. I've actually seen this firsthand at work. I work in acute care, meaning that I work in a hospital setting. And on my unit, we have a particular male nurse who makes more than I do, even though I have many more years of experience. And so when I had found this out, I brought it to my manager. And she had stated that you needed to be grateful that she had finally hired some muscle for the unit. My concerns were completely discredited, and it goes to show that the gender stereotypes are still alive and well today. It's also super important to realize that not all women experience the wage gap equally. Women of color tend to face greater economic challenges, and Mandel and Semnov's research show that even in sectors like government work, the pay gap still exists. True change has to tackle race, class, and gender all at once. It's not just one piece of the puzzle. This next slide covers how we can create change. And there is a lot that we can do. We can push for pay transparency, encouraging women to go for leadership roles, promoting better work life balance, and speaking up against discrimination. Something that had surprised me from the textbook was that even doctors today are segregated by gender depending on their specialty. Women tend to be pushed into pediatrics and men dominate surgery. It shows that even in really prestigious jobs, gender norms still shape the opportunities. I included this image over here on the right hand side. I don't know if you guys ever seen that TV show. It's funny. Um, but the image depicts a man doing what society would consider a woman's job. And he's got the goggles and the duct tape showing that he's completely uncut out for it and it was done for women. I felt like this image fit perfectly on this slide, talking about some things that some of the societal gender norms we can, start to move away from, and some ways that we can create change. I have a couple questions for you guys that I'd like you to think about. First one being, why do you think the gender pay gap still exists today? Second one, which job fields can you identify that are predominantly men? And on the contrary, which job fields can you identify that are predominantly women? And my last question to you is, what do you think would help make workplaces more equal? And here are the references that I used. They include our textbook and a few of the outside peer-reviewed studies that dive deep into the issues discussed within this slideshow. All right, thank you guys for watching.